Hello, everyone. I'm Sage Stevens. We're on Streaminn HUBB Radio, and this is Shout Out with Sage. So today I have a guest. He is a psychotherapist, a mental health consultant, an author. He's written a couple books. He's also a frequent contributor to Huffington Post and is the producer of This Is My Brave, which is a theater production in Santa Monica, all about reducing the stigma of mental health. So I would like to welcome today, John. I don't want to mess up your last name. I'm sorry. Today we have John Paris.
Silamparis.
Silamparis. Okay. The T is silent?
The T is silent.
Yes. Okay. So today my guest is John Paris. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
And so it's Shout Out with Sage, and part of, the reason for the show is to give gratitude and acknowledgement to people. So I was so happy when you wanted to come on the show, because I really want to discuss how gratitude can affect people's mental health and what gratitude, can do for people.
Yeah, I've been a therapist for so many years, 28 years now. And besides your typical traditional talk therapy and giving people tools to manage their anxiety, their depression, and their symptoms, a big component that I know a lot of therapists don't use is to try to help patients cultivate gratitude. Gratitude and acceptance are two huge, enormous factors. And it's a daily practice. I have them do it on a regular basis. And a lot of it is based on, the Dalai Lama's book, The Art of Happiness. I'm not a huge Dalai Lama fan, but he has a great book called The Art of Happiness. And there's one chapter in there about gratitude. And what he says is that what many of us do is we wake up, especially in the Western world, we wake up in the morning and we typically compare ourselves to people that have more than us or people that are more fortunate than us. But what we never do is we never wake up in the morning and compare ourselves to people that are less fortunate than us, or at least wake up in the morning and just give gratitude for the things that we have instead of always thinking about the things that we want. And so if you have a pad of paper next to you and you list 3 things as basic as, I'm happy to be living in the United States, or I'm happy that it's a beautiful sunny day today, or I'm happy that I have all 4 of my limbs. Just starting your day that way has a huge contrasting difference than waking up in the day and feeling like, oh my God, I have to do this and I have to do that, and my life won't be better until I get this or that and stuff. So it's
a
way
feeling overwhelmed with things.
Yeah, it's a way to start your day in a positive way and to build resilience that way, as opposed to starting your day in deficit. So to your point, gratitude is extremely important, and even in psychotherapy.
Right. What's the difference between gratitude and appreciation?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess I can appreciate things in life, but giving gratitude is really, really giving thanks. Appreciating it is maybe acknowledging it in a lighter way. I don't know. To me, gratitude is just deeper.
Right.
It's deeper. And I actually have people do lists. Like one list is, name 3 people or 2 people in your life that you're grateful to have in your life and why. Another list is list 3 things in your life that you're grateful to have right now, whatever that is, a situation or a place or a thing. And then most importantly, listing 3 things that give your life meaning. What is that? Humor? Is it music? Is it the weather? Is it your ability to exercise still? Is it your job? Things like that.
And do you find this is important? I would think with COVID and people, being, not being able to have the same type of freedom that we once had, I would imagine being thankful for things and showing gratitude would maybe help with our mental capacity during the last few years.
It does. And it helps to build resistance. There's a big difference between, oh my God, we're in a pandemic and the US government's going to shut down. Life is over for everybody. Nothing's ever going to get better. This totally stinks. Or the gratitude is, all right, it's probably the worst time in our lives. And a lot of people have lost money and lost their businesses. And some people, unfortunately, have lost lives. But whatever, my community came together really well, and it's amazing to see this. Or I built a new relationship with some of my family members, or just looking at some of the good things that came out of all this. And there are many, many good things. I mean, the field of psychotherapy has drastically changed because of the pandemic, and a lot of it is good. Now, more people actually come to therapy. There's less people coming late to therapy. Again, more people showing up. It's true.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay, because think about it, Sage. If you remove all of the logistics to coming to therapy, traffic, skyrocketing gas prices, if you remove all of that, time, childcare, leaving work, if you remove all of that, and then you can do therapy from home, it's really quite easy for everybody. So more people have sought help. So there's a lot of good things to look at.
There's less excuses for not for not going, or for not keeping an appointment, or whatever the excuse may be. Have you noticed a difference, like in people's overall attitude towards therapy and towards talking about problems?
Yeah, I think it has kind of destigmatized mental illness a little bit, because now a lot of people have reported that they feel like if you previously had a mental health condition and now the pandemic is here, people feel like the playing field is leveled now. Now people are saying, you see how I feel all the time, this excessive worry, this dread, this sort of complex grief that doesn't go away. So I've seen a lot of people actually thrive in this situation. But yes, the numbers are high. The numbers are really bad, actually. 93 or 94,000 people died last year from prescription drug overdoses.
Oh, wow.
And that's been much higher because of the pandemic. Much more cases of mental health condition episodes. Emergency room visits are up. So it's been pretty bad lately. We've been very busy as clinicians.
How can someone, when let's say they're anxious and their brain's running in circles, what are some things they can do to maybe, quiet that down, or at least relax a little bit? What are some tips for that?
So what I use is, a kind of cognitive behavioral therapy and a kind of mindfulness. Mindfulness is just developing a different relationship with your discomfort. So one of the ways is to remember that, and we all do this, Sage, you and I do it also, but people generally have an attachment to guarantees and an aversion to any kind of uncertainty. And so when you have an aversion to uncertainty all the time, you try to control things. You try to control, the weather, the stock market. You try to control people. You try to control traffic. And when we try to control,
road rage comes in.
Exactly. Yeah, that's part of it too. But so when you enlist control strategies and then these things don't work, your anxiety and your worry gets worse. So I have people focus on three things. And one is, do I have an excessive need for control about a particular thing? Meaning, am I attached to some guarantee about something? And do I want results immediately? Am I results oriented? Two is, do I have perfectionistic thinking? Do I think in all or nothing terms? I either do great today and I get praised by my boss and I get praised by my spouse and my kids, or I don't, and then all of a sudden I'm a failure. So it's looking at how we use all or nothing black and white thinking. And then the third one is a reliance on others for approval. If I'm people pleasing and I'm seeking it, people to like me and I don't want to disappoint anybody, that's going to cause anxiety. So I have people focus on, to answer your question, sorry, it's a long answer, but I have people focus on what style of thinking am I using? Is it excessive need for control? Is it perfectionism? Or is it reliance on others for approval? And then once I notice and I categorize that, I ask them to pull back, take 5, and redirect your thinking and let go of those 3 for now. You'd be shocked at how your anxiety comes down.
What exactly is anxiety? Like, I know for myself, it's like my brain just starts like running. I mean, is that anxiety? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so a lesser form of anxiety is what we call stress.
Okay.
But remember, everyone has a built-in fight or flight or threat response system. So the brain always scans the horizon for dangers and stuff.
Yeah, for
And
the
you have
tiger running across the horizon that we don't have anymore, right?
exactly. So you can blame this on your hairy ancestors that this adaptive function was placed in there to protect us.
Right.
If it wasn't there, you would have been hit by a car a long time ago and you would never have gone to the doctor. So
Oh,
anxiety is a reaction to a perceived fear. And what we have are cognitive distortions as a result of that. Like, oh my God, I have to get to the hospital, or oh my God, I almost got killed in my car, or oh my God, my kids got, whatever, the sniffles. That's a natural reaction to protecting the organism. And so, but what those are cognitive distortions, catastrophic thinking, which are basically mainly unverifiable thoughts that start to look like facts. So you need anxiety. You can't get rid of it altogether. You can manage it, but you can't get rid of it. And gratitude and acceptance are two ways of reducing anxiety.
I was reading somewhere that, what did I read? I don't know if you agree with this or not, but they say when you express or receive gratitude, that dopamine releases in the brain.
Yes.
So, what exactly, I thought that was interesting. And what exactly, I was just wondering your take on that. And, how does dopamine work and what is it exactly?
So dopamine is one of the chemicals in the brain that soothe the body and give you calm and make you feel good. That's why people like to use, recreational drugs, because most of those increase the production of dopamine. The
Okay.
problem is if you do that too much, then you blow out your reward center, and then good things that you love, like sunsets and cheeseburgers and music, don't start to feel good anymore. So dopamine is one of those chemicals that we all have. And so when you can teach yourself to naturally create dopamine, like when you laugh at something, or you eat a good food, or you do something kind to somebody, for somebody, or you actually teach yourself to be grateful and to be happy about all the things that you do have, you're teaching the brain to produce this dopamine. So you have to practice it as if it was a muscle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I was also actually, we were talking a little bit before the interview today, and I was, because a lot of the people are actors or filmmakers, and I was asking, is there a reason why a lot of people, is it a personality type that likes to get into acting or, be a filmmaker? Because, it's not a traditional type of job. There is a bunch of risk associated to that. And I just thought your answer to that was rather interesting.
Yeah, it's been talked about a lot. I don't know how substantiated it is, but Dr. Drew has talked about it many times, and he's always spot on. But he was saying that, there's a good chance that a lot of people that suffer from excessive anxiety and stress and excessive worry and are also people that also enjoy the thrill and enjoy the anxiety that you get being on stage and having a lot of pressure on you and stuff
The
like that,
adrenaline rush. There's
and
no.
the adrenaline and being in sort of in the limelight like that. And
Right.
so we know that people with severe anxiety disorders and depression and basically mental illness have a combination of, a genetics, a nexus of that, and then somehow in their environment throughout their childhood, maybe through trauma or just the home that they grew up in, has developed this. So you have to have a proclivity for it in a way. But yes, there is a lot of similarity between people that like to take risks, thrill seekers, like to be on stage, like the adrenaline rush, and also a prevalence of anxiety as well too. And they like that, and they seem to thrive on that.
Not
So
saying that everyone who,
no,
everyone
not everyone.
is, but yeah.
Exactly. No, not at all. It's just a certain group of people.
Right.
I know that for me, my brother, who I'm very close to, he's a great guy. He actually is completely different than me. Stress just goes right over his head, and we came from the same family, same genetics and stuff. But maybe the genetics are a little different, because I consider myself a stressed guy and I'm an anxious guy. And sometimes it feels like I eat anxiety for breakfast, but I've learned how to manage it. But he's completely different. So that just shows you that, the nurture was the same because we had the same parents, but the nature is different. So not everyone is like that.
So exactly. I was also reading that um, about positive thoughts and trying to reprogram your brain. Is that
Yeah.
possible? And especially now with COVID and everything, I myself try to practice a little more gratitude, especially on stressful days when I have to be out with all the rest of the people.
Yeah.
So how does that work? How can you reprogram your brain? I just thought this was really interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of research out there on it. And so supposedly the brain is able to change itself. And when you get new information or you practice new techniques, what's called is sort of this neuroplasticity, where you can actually train your mind to react differently to things. You can train your mind to respond differently to things. So cognitive behavioral therapy is evidence-based, and it says that when you introduce different ways of thinking, different ways to responding to things, because again, I can't change the world, but I can change my response to the world. I can't change the 405, probably the biggest freeway in Los Angeles, but I can change my reaction to it. I can make myself sick every time I get on it, or I can change my response to it and kind of accept that that's the way that it is if I choose to live in LA. So if I can change my responses to things, where typically I had a reactivity to things, and I instead teach myself to be more reflective, you can actually change brain chemistry, neuroplasticity. It's very, very common.
How long does that take to do?
Nobody really knows. I mean, a lot of patients always ask me, how long will this therapy work? And some people get benefit after a month. Some people takes them 6 months to a year. It really depends on how much they put into it. You know, if you are really, really focused in it and it becomes your passion, and you create a little sort of boot camp in your head about it, and you become a thought detective so that you can identify things like control, perfectionism, and the people pleasing, people get results pretty quickly. But it's a practice that you have to really buy into to do that. And it works.
You have a book and you go into a lot of different techniques. Why don't you explain a little bit about your book and some of the other techniques?
Sure. So the book is called Retrain Your Anxious Brain, and it's kind of what I described. It's my spin on cognitive behavioral therapy, a little exposure therapy, a little bit of mindfulness therapy, a little bit of spirituality, some gratitude, some acceptance, all of that stuff, putting all those together and giving people some relief from their stress. So it's a self-help book that helps people unearth types of thinking styles that you use and types of behaviors that are maladaptive, and helps you to reduce anxiety and live a better life. I mean, I see it as sort of a design for living for anybody. You don't have to have severe anxiety to get a benefit from this book. I just think that it's for everybody. And so, you know, the book rings true with a lot of people because I've really, really made it very simple for people to understand. It's not complicated. It's just common sense stuff. And it's, again, a basic way to manage your stress a little bit better in a very difficult time that we're going through.
Right. You mentioned meditation. And how can someone incorporate meditation into their daily life? I meditate quite a bit. I find it very helpful. So
Right. I think I mentioned mindfulness, which can be meditation, but not can be. And you're probably much more disciplined than myself and most people. But for most people, it's hard to sit down and, you know, meditate for 30 minutes, even for 15 minutes. But if they can do that, the book shows you how to do that. But what I teach people to do is to do a mindfulness check-in 3 or 4 times a day, which is basically 2 or 3 minutes. And that's where you really, really pull back. You sit down, you turn off all your electronics, and you basically focus on your breathing. And I call it the 7-Eleven breathing. You take a deep breath and you hold it for 7 seconds. And then you exhale out of your mouth really slowly for 11 seconds. I actually do 7-15. I do 15 seconds exhale. And while you're doing that, you're doing sensory perception. You're noticing 3 things that you're hearing. You hear a lawnmower, you hear a plane overhead. 3 things that you feel. I can feel the chair under my butt. I can feel the ground under my feet. And just for 2 or 3 minutes, you do that. And that refocuses you. And it's a check-in. It's like Sage is checking in with herself. Yes, I need to pull myself together today and remember that I can't control everything. And the breathing is sort of like a little bit of a tap on the shoulder. Slow down. And when you do that 4 times a day, and you can do it anyway, you can even do it driving in your car, it reduces anxiety.
Okay, that's great. So what's the difference then between mindfulness is just more or less checking in with yourself, knowing, you know, where you are, like, you know, how your stress is that day versus, meditation's a total,
Right. Mindfulness is simply just having more awareness of yourself, more
mm,
awareness of your thoughts, more awareness of your feelings. So, in other words, people are often afraid of it when I first explain it to them, but it's drawing more attention to the fact that you're having thoughts, but
mm,
it's replacing those thoughts with different types of thoughts. In other words, I could think to myself, you know what? I'm really not good enough. And so why bother trying? But mindfulness says, there goes John again. I just noticed that I had the thought that I'm not good enough, and what's the bother in trying? So it's
mm,
really having much more awareness about your surroundings, yourself, people, and basically your day, so that you're not in automatic pilot too much and
yeah,
getting stressed out without you noticing what's going on.
just take those moments to step back and reassess.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's like taking an inventory every day, or again, I have people do inventory several times a day.
Mm. And you have the play, which I find very interesting, called This Is My Brave, correct?
Yes. So it's a nonprofit,
Okay.
and they are a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. And what they do is their goal is to end mental illness stigma. And so they produce live theater shows where about 10 people who have to audition for it. We already have our cast.
Okay.
They tell their story live on stage, and they do it via song, dance, comedy, monologue, poetry. This year is just one of the years that I'm producing one of the shows, and it's going to be in Santa Monica at the Broad Stage on September 25th, 2022. And yeah, it isn't a scripted play. It's just 10 people telling their story. And, they've done 62 shows,
Oh,
63
wow.
shows. Yeah. So this is just another show that we're doing. There's 4 or 5 others being done simultaneously around the country. And it's really powerful. It's a way to get mental illness out of the shadows and
Right.
kind of into the spotlight and remove that stigma.
So they just get up there and talk just freely, like improv, more or less?
Yeah, it's a variety show. So this year, we have 3 musicians. We have 1 comic. We have 3 poets. We have 3 other monologues. Is that 10? I can't remember. Um, so yeah, they just go one at a time, and they just come up, and the theater seats 500 people. The theaters are usually always packed,
Wow.
and it's very emotional. It's like going to a concert. It's
Yeah,
really
I would
exciting.
imagine that would
And
be pretty.
yeah, it's not a talent show. It's not about entertainment. It's about, supporting a cause and allowing these people to stand up to, their illness, their symptoms, and say, this is not going to rule me. And in telling the world this, telling the stage this, telling the audience this, it's very transformational for them. It changes lives.
I would imagine it's very cathartic.
Yeah. So we hope to see you there, Sage.
Thank you. I will be there.
Good.
And what type of issues do these people have? Like, runs the whole gamut? Like, what type of issues are we talking about?
It's varied. It's a lifetime of depression, addiction, bipolar disorder, psychotic breaks,
Mm.
um, all kinds of stuff. We have people from all walks of life. Some of them are clinicians, mental health clinicians. Some of them are medical clinicians. There are law enforcement people. There are CEOs. There are people who are entrepreneurs, business owners, all walks of life, all ages. I think the youngest person we have is 15, and the oldest is, I believe, in their 40s.
Mm.
So you'd be surprised at how, mental illness, does not discriminate. Everyone's affected. And
Right.
so this show tries to show that, it's everywhere. It doesn't spare anybody. Everyone's affected.
Right. Well, especially when stress goes up and, people can't leave their houses, I imagine. I would figure everyone sort of has a threshold, and some people reach a certain threshold and then they just.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Everyone's got a different distress tolerance threshold, and it's not that some handle it better than others. It's just everyone's different.
Right.
And we already had a mental health crisis way before the pandemic hit. The
Mm.
numbers were very high. There were less therapists and more people needing therapy. Now that's changed because there's more clinicians out there now.
Right.
But yes, we already had a problem. So it's
So
it's a big deal.
And since this is Shout Out with Sage, I was wondering if you personally had anyone that you would like to give a shout out to, someone who was influential or inspirational for yourself so far in your path of life.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, I'd like to give a shout out to all my cast members right now of the show
Right.
because they are really, really brave and really special. They're putting themselves in a position to be rejected by telling the story about themselves.
Oh,
And everybody on my team, I unfortunately only have 4 people on my team. We wish we had more, but they're all great. Everyone's volunteer.
mm,
All the proceeds of the show and all of the donations that we've gotten, everything goes back into the community. So everybody that contributed, everybody that sponsored us gets a shout out. And I've got so many mentors and psychotherapists that have helped me over the years. One is a woman named Claire Ciliata. Another one is called Marcia Jacobs. The list goes on. So thank you for asking me to do that.
oh, no worries. Well,
Yeah.
point of the show. So one last, did you want to give one more last little shout out for your play, for your show? And yeah.
Yeah. So if people are interested in the show and they want to attend, they can go to our Instagram page, which is, well, you could go to the website, which is thisismybrave.org. So it's 4 words together, thisismybrave.org. But more specifically, you could go to the Instagram page of our actual show profile, which is This Is My Brave LA 2022. So Instagram, This Is My Brave LA 2022. And you will see on there the link to purchasing tickets. And you do it online. You know, it sends you an email back and you have your little code. And that's it. It's really one click. It's very easy to do. Or if they want to donate, they can also go to that same website and they can donate. Even if you want to donate $5, we love it.
And how about you? Are you taking clients? Are you,
Yeah.
so how do people find out about you?
I have a limited practice, but I still have space for anybody that's interested in learning more about psychotherapy and all of this work that I do. But if they're interested in therapy, I can either help them myself or I can give them a referral. You can go to my website, which is johnsilimparis.com. You can go, and it's John, John, and my last name is Tsilimparis, so johnsilimparis.com. And my email is there. Or you can go to jsilimparis@gmail.com
Okay.
and send me a note. Tell me what you think about the show. Or if you go to the show afterwards, send me an email and let you know.
Well, thanks so much for joining me today and talking about gratitude, since, that is sort of the premise of the show. So I really appreciate you being here. And I will see you at your show.
Yes, and thank you for bringing gratitude to light. A lot of people don't pay attention to that. It's really, really important. So I'd be happy to talk. I can talk volumes around gratitude.
Okay, we'll have to have you come back on, and we'll delve into it more in depth. So
I would love it. And more steps too. I only gave you those 3 lists that you can do. There's a lot more to do.
Okay. Well, we had a lot to sort of cover today. So, okay, cool. Well, thank you so much.
Nice to be with you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
And our next guest on Shout Out with Sage will be a filmmaker who's Oscar nominated, and his name is Jonathan Heap. Hi, Jonathan. Welcome to Shout Out with Sage.
Hello, how are you? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Good.
And so you are an Oscar nominated filmmaker, and you have 2 new films that you're working on that are in pre-production, The Variant and The Burning Man. And why don't you tell us a little bit about those films that you are working on currently?
Well, one of them is a little further along. We have a script, a draft that I'm really happy about, and I hope to shoot in October. It is a elevated horror film. And I'll explain what I think that means. And one of the reasons we have to shoot in October is that it takes place in a campsite around a fire with woods around it. And since California is unlikely to be a place where we can shoot with all the fire hazards, we might shoot in one of the states that's further north. And they get cold after October, so we don't want to shoot in November.
Okay.
So this is good. I like having a deadline. I like having to have another draft of the script in a couple of weeks, raise the money, make the film. It's doable.
Okay. So before we get too far, those points are really important. So I'd like to sort of focus on those. So with your script, how do you get ideas for your script? And how do you raise money? And like all those points you just said, I'd like to go more into depth on.
Sure, I understand. Just very quickly, the other script is still in development. I'm still writing it.
Right.
Figure it out. So I did a film. Did a film that was released in 2018 on Amazon called The Unwilling, which is a horror movie, and I really enjoyed making it. So I tried to think of another horror movie idea, and I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to give myself a limitation of being in one location and making it interesting? This sort of Hitchcock scenario of Lifeboat and Road and other films that have taken place entirely in
I love Hitchcock. Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah, me too. But it's a challenge. It also keeps the budget way down and makes the film more doable. So it can take 2 or 3 years to raise the money, and I'll discuss that in a second. So the reason this is very encouraging is that it can be done on a very low budget, and my plan is to make it with a crew of only like 8 or 9 people. And by doing that, you get more shoot days. You don't have to raise as much money. You're more involved creatively as a director. You're more intimate with everybody. There isn't as much delegation. Delegation is very important, but I also want to get my hands into it the way I did it in college when I did a lot of the work myself. Physical labor. I enjoy the whole thing. So that's where the idea came from. I had this idea of making a film at a campsite around a fire. And what are we going to do? Why is that scary? How can it be scary? Well, if they decide to tell a scary camp story, which is what you usually do when you're way out in the woods and you hear strange noises, lightning flash, and you're miles and miles from civilization, your cell phones don't work. It's a perfect setting for horror. Right. So I thought, well, what if they tell a scary camp story and it starts coming true? The guy who's narrating, telling the story is saying things like, Mary gets tired and goes over to her tent. She says, what the hell are you guys doing? And we turn around and she's in the middle of doing that. Okay. And at first they think it's a trick. They think everybody's in on it. This has sort of been planned out, but it becomes pretty apparent pretty quickly that it's not a trick and there's some sort of supernatural aspect at work.
Okay.
Which then,
and how did you come up with this idea? You just really...
How did I come up with the idea? How does anyone come up with an idea? I could have been in the shower. I could have been in my car. I mean, the initial thing was to have the limitation of shooting.
Right. That was your main thing. And then how do you get the financing for your movies? How do you do like Indiegogo, or it's through friends and family, or how do you do that?
We discovered on the last film that Indiegogo wasn't really an option because we tried to do it, and a lot of times now the money that is raised on Indiegogo is raised for films that are issue oriented and not for horror movies.
That are what oriented? Sorry.
Issue oriented. Like,
meaning, what does that mean?
A friend of mine made 2 films about child trafficking, which
like nonprofits and okay, I got you. Social justice and stuff like that. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't always have to be nonprofit. It's something that's maybe more a drama pointing out an issue, talking about drug addiction or mental illness or something. And
okay.
A horror movie is just really a very commercial thing. And so
right.
We tried to raise money. I think we raised $4,000, so that was kind of amusing, actually.
I mean, it's better than nothing, right?
Better than nothing. So what I will do on this to raise the money is what I did last time. It'll be a budget a third as big probably, and that is equity investors. I have a bunch of friends and acquaintances that I will approach and probably sell shares for $10,000 each.
Okay.
And you get like 5 or 10 people, and you have enough.
Can you explain for those people who might not know exactly what you mean by an equity investor? Like for someone who's just becoming a filmmaker, they might not realize what that is.
Yeah, well, you have different types of ways of financing a movie. The old-fashioned way, which is still going on, is that you have a distributor who tells you, yes, we're going to distribute that movie based on the fact that you have a star in it, or a medium-sized star in it. And then you take that promissory note to a bank and you get a loan. And a lot of films, even big studio films, are made with loans. That's why they want to release them quickly, so they don't have to keep paying the interest. I'm not as knowledgeable about this side of the business as I am about the creative side.
Right.
But what an equity investor basically is cash. It's
Okay.
not a loan per se. It's actually a hard currency. And generally, you form a limited partnership, and everybody gets a percentage for putting in a certain amount of cash. Creative folk get a percentage for doing work. I think we split our last film into 10 units. 5 of them were $25,000 each, and the other 5 were creative positions, and they all got equal points. Because
Okay.
creative people are working hard to the point where they are doing $25,000 worth of work. That's kind of the concept. So
Okay.
you've got the work, which represents an equity sort of thing with work. Then you have actual cash.
Okay.
So I'm optimistic that I will be able to raise this. We're going to keep the budget under 100 and maybe even at 50.
Okay. It's definitely going to be like a low budget film.
Low budget, but it's, like I said, it's one location around a fire.
Right,
So-
right. So you should be able to do that. What made you get into filmmaking? Why did you decide to be a filmmaker?
Well, it started when I was 14.
Mhm.
And I think I was a young kid who couldn't really find much of an identity in junior high and high school. And somebody one day suggested, why don't we shoot something on Super 8 film? And we sort of did it as a lark, but I knew within like some minutes
That you
what I
that
wanted
was
to do.
it. Okay.
So I made films in high school. I won all the awards. I made a half-hour James Bond takeoff in high school in Greenwich, Connecticut. And then I went to film school at Ithaca College.
Okay.
And I flourished there. I had my own TV show. I made 5 or 6 movies. One of them was an hour long. And right from the beginning, I saw it as an art form. I saw it as this sort of consummate art form, combining writing, motion picture, photography, music, art direction, architecture. It just, you really,
Yeah, it combines all the other art forms into this one art form. Like that's like being in film, it's all the other things in this one. So
in a good film. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
look at a film like,
yeah. Not every film incorporates
yeah,
all the other arts, but it definitely does have those in them. So
yeah, look at a film like Dune. It won 8 Academy Awards in all the art departments. Every single one of them, from sound to production design, to costumes, to music. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And it could have won Best Picture. It just didn't get the votes this year. But in my mind, it was. Hitchcock's films are very meticulously designed, as are Stanley Kubrick's,
Right.
Christopher Nolan. And I entered in that sort of mindset. And those were my idols. And I wanted to make films in that fashion,
Okay.
which I'm trying to get back.
Meaning in what fashion? Can you be more specific? Like what fashion are you in?
Sure. In the fashion of being very design oriented, where every choice is carefully considered, and you have a thematic coherence to your script, and then you address that theme with aspects such as production design and costumes and music and the acting and everything else.
Right. And can you explain again to people who might not know what is production design?
Production design is it's hard to make a quick summation. Very many elements, a lot of
Well,
elements.
just the overall look of the film and sort of
And it really includes the sets, the costumes,
right,
the colors you pick, the locations,
the tone, all that
and
stuff.
in many ways, a horror or a science fiction movie are the most demanding in this area of all, because you're largely creating a world, especially in science fiction. You have to create everything: the cars, the buildings, the electronics, the spaceships, whatever it is. But in a horror movie too, so much of it is predicated on a scary house,
Right.
scary streets, dark buildings, dark, expressionistic, creepy look. I mean, look at the film The Batman. That's a production designer's dream. I mean,
Yes.
it's so meticulously lit, the lighting. And these films that are kind of fantasy films are more demanding. Although a period piece is demanding. Think of Schindler's List, and even a regular drama to do it well, and it's more of a thing which ends up being at an unconscious level. The design of like something like Coda, which
Oh yeah.
that was a very designed movie. Everything in there, the locations they picked, the costumes, it doesn't stand out like wow they did world creation. It's not kind of the same thing.
Okay.
But I think production design. I mean, my favorite areas are production design, cinematography, and music, as far as the design aspects go, and they have to be in concert.
Right.
We're both Hitchcock fans. I mean, it's extraordinary. I just watched The Birds the other day, and I was just sitting there going, "This is every bit as good as Alien or any of these action movies. It has the same builds. It's terrifying. It's relentless." And
okay.
anyway, where are we at?
What is the best piece of advice that you were ever given when you, well, either now or in the past, when you first started in the business?
It's a piece of advice that I always give, and I stole it. I got it from someone else. First, I heard it reading books by people interviewing Stanley Kubrick or Steven Spielberg or some of the other directors, and they all said, film school is fine, studying cinema is fine, watching cinema is fine, but you gotta go out and make a film.
Right. You just have to do it. Yeah.
I finally met Steven Spielberg, and he actually said that literally to me. He said, go out and make a film and do your storyboards and design it meticulously. And I'll never forget. He was going to a soundstage, and I cornered him. I was like 19 years old. Do that. Go and corner people. Go up to your heroes. Go get on a film set. Sneak on a film set. Anything. Just flood yourself with information. I was the good fortune years later to get to know Spielberg a little bit better, and he watched a film of mine, which he really liked, and gave me notes. That was amazing. You should cut this and move this. And I almost said as a joke, "What do you know?" But
So what was his advice was mostly about the edit, like editing things out? Or?
Yeah, he liked the overall film. It was very specific. It was, this is more suspenseful if you just have the guy appear rather than have him walk in. That was literally what he said. It was Donald Sutherland. And there was a scene with this kid where the camera was at this angle, the kid was talking, and then it cut to this angle, and over his shoulder, the way I shot it, Donald Sutherland walked in to the frame. And I thought that was pretty scary, but then he said, just have him there. Like you're on the kid, you cut to there, and he's just standing there.
Okay. Is to create suspense. How do you create suspense? Like that must be a difficult thing, I would think.
That's a whole discussion in of itself. but
well, we have a few minutes right now, so
yeah. No, I'm not. I mean, that's a 3-hour discussion. But suspense is my favorite thing. I think I like it more than action. It's a feeling. It's anticipation. It's dread. And I think there's a couple of old adages. One is you wait as long as you can to show the monster, or to tell the audience what the solution to the mystery is. But you suggest right up front that there's a terrible problem that has to be solved, or that there's something out there that they're going to have to face. The longer you push that out, the scarier it becomes. If you shoot a scene in a house and somebody says, "Oh, don't go in there, there's a demon," somebody else says, "Well, I'm going in." That's exactly what I want to see. You have them walk around the house. You could, if you want, you could wait 25 minutes. That may be an exaggeration, but almost not. I mean, a film like Paranormal Activity, which was really scary.
Yes.
Absolutely nothing happened for the first hour. Nothing. All it was shots of them waiting and sleeping and not sleeping. And when it finally got to it, I wanted to turn it off. I mean, things still affect me. Films still affect me. So suspense is about the unknown. It's about anticipation. If you want to
Right.
discuss,
How do you, sorry, when you do a film, since you're a writer, director, do you also edit?
well, I've worked with editors many times in the past. Some great editors that were miraculous.
Do you think about your edit when you're writing?
Not as much when you're writing, but when you're planning your shots out and shooting, you do.
Okay.
And that's why you have a script supervisor, and sometimes you have your editor on your set, and they may come over and whisper in your ear, "You're going to need a close up over here." You know, you
Okay.
go, point your fingers and go, "I need a close up that way. I need a close up that way, and I need a wide shot because otherwise I'm not going to be able to cut it." And sometimes other people will give you advice in that. But the film I'm about to make, I plan on editing myself, because I want to get back to my roots of, you know, sitting in a darkened room and on a potter's wheel and making a thing all by
So
yourself.
it sounds like it's very helpful then to have the editor with you, or to know what shots you need before you actually start shooting then, correct?
I think it's pretty essential, especially if it's suspense or action or fantasy or a dream or something that's visually has to be very specific. The only time that I am less concerned is if I have a big dramatic dialogue scene, because I learned that actors sometimes like to be told where to stand and where to go, but sometimes not.
Okay.
Sometimes they get up and they have the script in their hand and you're doing the blocking at the beginning of the day, and the actor will go, "I'm going to sit down when I say this. I'm going to take a moment." And if you plan your shots out, the shots here, there,
Yeah, then that's, yeah, exactly.
Your whole plan is thrown out. So it's better to be flexible. It's good to have a plan. It's good to be really flexible. And you know, it's not brain surgery. Once you make a few movies, a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people do it with their home systems, and it's amazing what they're able to do.
Right.
I think the part that is more difficult, a lot of people might disagree with me, but I think the writing of the film, getting the story right.
Oh, definitely. Writing is like the most important part, and it's the part I find a lot of people try and rush through.
Well, everybody does that. My friend is making a film in Boston, and 3 weeks ago they gave him the script, and he said, "This is unfilmable. We have to push the movie." And they said, "No, we can't. We've already got locations." And he had to rewrite the script in 3 weeks. He handed in the draft 2
Oh my
days.
God, no, that's like, the writing's the most important part.
How could you spend all that money and not? So I did a film once with Rob Lowe, and my manager called me and said, "You've only got 2 weeks of prep. They lost the other director." So I said, "Okay, that sounds like fun." So I flew up to Toronto, and there was no script.
And then what did you do?
Rob Lowe was like, "What the F are we going to do?" And I was like, "Well, I guess we'll have to improv it." We had no script.
Oh.
Yeah, so we would go out on a certain day. Thankfully, it was also a thriller, so it was, even though there were good characters, it was less character and dramatically oriented. So it would be like, you guys are all in the woods, you hear a noise, you cock your guns, you form a sort of perimeter, and then you go off and try to find it. What are you going to say? How are you going to feel? And each actor would just say something. It worked out, and it doesn't always work out. You have to have the right attitude.
Right. Some actors might not be so good with that. So
yeah, but it was crazy. I don't ever want to do that again. It's crazy. I mean, I would always prefer.
Well, having a script, yeah, you should have a script. It's very beneficial. It's very helpful.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people. There's nothing wrong with thinking, "Oh, waking up one morning and going, I'm going to write a screenplay." But a lot of people are not in the know, and they think that they could do it in a month, just turn it in, and years go by, they don't know why they aren't selling anything. It's because they haven't spent the time to hone it, perfect it, to study the structure of screenplays, to come up with the right idea.
How long does it take you to write a screenplay usually?
I would say 6 months.
Okay.
From the beginning of the idea to the end. And I think that's, I don't know what the Writers Guild, they actually have bylaws. And
Yes.
yeah, the studios will be like, your first draft has to be in by people are always late.
Well, though, but those are like for people who are getting paid and they have contracts. I mean, you're an independent filmmaker who's doing your own stuff, so you can have more leeway in when you finish or not finish. I mean, I write as well, so if I'm just writing for myself, then when I finish, I finish. I mean, it is good to have deadlines or at least have something, that you're a date you want to have something finished by, though, or else it could sit around for a while.
I just did that with a co-writer. I told him in June, I said, we're going to have a draft July 1st, period.
Right.
Well, we had a draft July 30th.
Okay.
After 6 months, a month late. That's pretty good. And
That's
I knew pretty much it was going to go down that way anyway.
Right.
The dance, it's always a dance between different masters. And dance, you want to turn something out that's good in a reasonable amount of time. And then you also want it to be great. So you got to push yourself in different directions. And then if you're getting paid to do it,
right.
I once had a job for Warner Brothers. I think we had 6 weeks to write a draft, to do a rewrite on something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 27, and we did a terrible job. It was terrible. And they canceled the project immediately.
That doesn't sound so good.
No, but then the next one was really good.
Okay. Yes. It's a learning process. It's a learning curve. And with that, so do you have any shout outs for anyone? Is there anyone that has helped you immensely in your career so far, or that you would like to mention?
There's a lot of people. I would say David Picker, who was the head of United Artists at one point. He was an independent producer. About 1983, he had me develop a script with the Coen brothers before they were the Coen brothers.
Okay.
And we never got to make the film, but that really got me going. Janice Sue Memel and Jonathan Sanger brought me in to make a short film in 1990, and that's the film that was Oscar nominated. And they were really supportive and really stood by me. These were in the very beginning of everything. And I want to shout out to my actors. I've been so damn lucky. Donald Sutherland, Amy Irving, Stephen Baldwin, Rob Lowe, Tom Skerritt, David Lipper, Dina Meyer, Lance Hendrickson. Some of these names people aren't as familiar with, but they bring a gift. I mean, I did some improv work when I was younger, and I did a lot of comedy stuff. And actors bring a gift to you. They come with presents. Right. The set, and you have a certain idea of how a scene's going to play, and it comes alive, and you go, "Oh, I would never have thought of that." Wow. And it's magical. It is. Right. And I've been around a long time.
Everyone has that chemistry, and it all gets together. Yeah, it can be a very magical time. So.
It still amazes me that you can go out and do this artificial thing, drive a car by and have somebody in it yelling, point of view shot, somebody's in the street, and cut it all together, and you're even the filmmaker, and you go, "Whoa, that's really violent," and it works. It's like this magic. Right. There's magic in all the art forms. Composer composes something and then has it played by an orchestra, and he cries. And right. There's one composer of Hitchcock's, Bernard Herrmann, and Hitchcock said to him, "That's the most beautiful thing I ever heard," and he said, "I don't remember writing it."
Oh wow. I don't remember writing it. And with that, I would like to thank you for being here today. We're going to wrap it up for this segment. This is Shout Out with Sage Film. I want to thank Jonathan Heap for being here today. And you can catch his 2 movies coming out soon. I'm sure they'll be on the film festival circuit. Or why don't you tell people where to find you online, and then we'll.
Well, right now, go to Amazon and watch The Unwilling. There's 2, I think. I'm going to do The Unwilling with Dina Meyer and Lance Hendrickson and David Lipper. And my website is jonathanheap.com, and the film's coming out. The first one will probably be called The Burning Man, and that will hopefully be out within a year and a half.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for being here on Shout Out with Sage on Streaminn Hub Radio. It was so good to talk to you, and we're going to be moving on to our next guest. So have a good day.
You too.
Okay, thanks. Hi. Hi,
Hey,
everyone. How are you? Hi, Triz. What's up?
Hi, what's up?
I'm good. I'm good. So welcome everyone back to Shout Out with Sage on Streaminn Hub Radio. My next guest is hip hop artist Triz. And Triz, why don't you tell people where you're from and how you ended up into hip hop?
I'm from Southern California, the Inland Empire to be exact.
Okay.
It's about 35, 40 minutes east of LA. I got into music when I was like 9 years old, just growing up around it. And, my mom and my dad, they were like big music fans and stuff like that. And that's how I like really started to get into music. And I started to record and stuff when I was like 9 or 10.
Oh, wow. What were you listening to? What were your parents listening to when you...
They were listening to like a lot of jazz, a lot of funk, Anita Baker, George Clinton, the Parliament, Ohio Players.
Okay.
And then more like into the hip hop. Like my dad was like a real big West Side Connection fan. That was like the first album I ever heard. The first rap album I ever heard. Yeah.
And were all those influential in your music now, or there's certain ones that you sort of resonated with you, or you're sort of finding your own way?
Yeah. It's like all that is like inspiration, and it's really ingredients to everything that I do now. You know what I mean? Like my music has a lot of bounce to it. It has a lot of like dark methods to it, a lot of spacey West Coast like vibes to it. So I get all of that from everything that I was listening to when I was growing up, and even now, so yeah, it sticks with me even today.
I was doing some research, and I listened to you have the newest single out. I believe it's Keep It a Buck with Mike Summers. How did that experience come about? Because he's won, he has a couple gold records, some platinum records. So how did you meet Mike?
I met Mike Summers through working with Brother Lin Chung, who discovered me. He was signed. Brother Lin Chung is a really well-known artist from Sacramento, California.
Okay.
And Mike Summers, he actually produced a lot of music for him while he was signed to Strange. And Mike Summers was actually signed to Strange Music as well. He did the majority of Tech Nine's catalog. Okay. And that's basically how we ended up linking up. We had a lot of mutual friends and artists that we worked with, and he had been wanting to work with me for a long time. And so when he finally got the opportunity, he jumped at it, and he hit me up, wanting to work, and we actually linked up through Dave Weiner, who was he was working with Priority in the 90s. He actually had a hand in signing Ice Cube and stuff. So I ended up linking with Mike Summers through Dave Weiner.
And how long did it take you guys? You have a couple new singles out, correct? How long did it take you guys to write those, and what was the whole process like?
A lot of it was remotely working, like
with COVID and everything. And
like he'll send me beats, and I will record them at my house. I have a recording set up at my house, and so I would record all of the vocals. I would send them back to him, and then we would send it to another engineer out in another state, and I believe he's in Arizona. He mixes and masters everything. So we all the songs we did together, we were working remotely. Wow,
that's amazing. Like that, I would think that would be a difficult process. How did you deal with that?
I mean, I with technology and everything, I'm used to it. So like it's nothing. And I go over his house and we listen to beats. He has his own setup there too. But when I go over there, we just really like crafting and like getting ideas together. And then when I come home and I'm chilling at the crib, like I record and lay my vocals down at home.
Okay, and then with digital, you can just send them over or whatever.
Send it. So that's how we've been working and everything. But yeah, he's really been a big part of what's going on right now. I'm chasing a hit. I'm trying to get a hit single right now. So like I know he's one of the hit makers in the game right now, so I decided to work with him.
Okay, and I know you have Keep It a Buck, you have Summer Break with him. Is there another one that's going to be coming out with Mike soon?
Okay, so Summer Break is the EP. It's
Oh,
like,
sorry. Okay.
no. You got it right though, because Summer Break is also a title track, another single.
Okay.
No, you absolutely correct. But the single Summer Break is on the EP called Summer Break. That's
Right.
a set
Okay.
title.
Got you.
It's a title track for the EP, and so it's gearing up for this
Mhm.
album that we're about to release in September. And so
Okay.
it's a real summertime vibe, real chill barbecue type, music. West Coast, palm trees, weed smoking, alcohol.
Sunshine, beach,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah. So that's what we got working on right now, and we're dropping an album in September, and the EP was gearing up for that as well as Keep It a Buck.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there anyone else you're going to be working with, or what else are you working on right now? Just that or other stuff?
Yeah, right now I'm getting back into like my acting bag. Like I was acting as a kid, but I want to get like serious into it.
Mhm.
So right now I'm working on a couple of film projects. I just did some work with Investigation Discovery with this show called Reasonable Doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you play? What was that about?
A reenactment role.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, we were reenacting a crime scene. I'm just building my resume and just just like I've been doing with the music. I'm doing it with the acting, so I got that going on, and then as well as just putting out music. I'm working on a tour that I got coming up. I just got off tour in April. Yeah, I got off tour in April. I was on tour for 2 months with Ritz and Greaves. That was real successful. So I'm looking to go back on the road and put out a little bit more music before the year's up.
What's been the biggest hurdle for you up until this point with your music?
My biggest hurdle probably is just being a small fish in a big pond. Like I'm from California, Southern California to be exact. LA politics and all of that.
Mm.
I have to deal with all of that. You know what I mean? And there's so many people trying to do what I do, so that would probably be the biggest hurdle. But it don't faze me. I'm still able to do what I do and survive off of doing what I love.
And what's your favorite part of the business?
I'll probably say performing. Yeah. I'm around my friends. I'm around my fans. I'm around a bunch of support, a lot of love. I'm doing what I love. You know what I mean? I would say performing would be the best part of my job.
You love being up there on stage? That's your...
Yeah. That's my thing. My mom always said I like to have my ego stroked. And very true.
Yeah. I mean, makes sense, right? Well, speaking of that, are your parents supportive of your career? Because I know, sometimes family isn't always supportive when you go into the arts or music or anything like that.
Yeah, my mom and my dad are very supportive. They've always supported what I've done financially, and just emotionally. They've always been behind me. My mom told me when I graduated high school in 2010, I had a year to figure it out. Like,
oh wow, so they did give you parameters on stuff.
She was like, if you can't figure out a situation before 2011, then you're gonna have to go to school. I help you financially, because my mom and my dad, they both hustlers, they're realtors. I come from a good home. I've had a lot of struggles in my life, but my mom, overcame a lot of that. Right. Yeah, they've always been behind me. They've always helped me financially. But she told me, you got a year after high school to try to figure it out. If you don't, you got to go to school. So I started going to Los Angeles Recording School in 2011. And in the middle of me going to school, trade school and everything, I got a tour offer. And then when I got my tour offer, I quit school. And then... How
did that tour offer come about? Like, what were the steps in getting that opportunity?
Social media, being proactive on social media. That's actually how Brotherland Tongue and Strange Music discovered me. I was putting out videos. I've been putting out music and videos every year since 2006. I'm 30 years. Wow. I'm 30 years old. So since I was 14, I've been putting out music. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I've never stopped ever. Like, I've been independently doing this forever. So they discovered me on Twitter, and Brotherland Tongue, he you know, he took the courtesy to reach out to me and ask me if I wanted to do some shows, and that led up to doing tours with him and jumping on his album, and yeah, just grinding straight
Right,
up.
right. How often do you do a vid? Like, I looked on your Instagram. Yeah, you're always doing stuff. How often do you put out content?
Every week, whether it be, you know, some new pictures that I took at a photo shoot or behind the scenes, you know, working in the studio. But every week, like, the internet is too fast right now. Like, kids are scrolling and swiping 6 seconds into the video. Yeah,
Right.
so you got to be able to keep up with them and, you know, have something to give them. So yeah, every week I got something dropping. I'm very consistent. I don't let people forget me at all.
Okay, that's good to know. And with your videos, how do you come up with ideas for your videos? Is it you? Is it other people? Like, and who directs them? Do you hire a director, or it's a friend, or how do your videos all work out?
Me and my boy Castro, aka New High Films, we guerrilla shoot a lot. Like, we'll just pull up to,
I
like,
understand.
all of that. But sometimes, the majority of the time, I plan it out. I'll, like, scale it out on my phone. My wife is a filmographer, and she films a lot of videos, and she actually has her own a couple independent films she's done herself. So she helps me out with a lot of my treatments. But yeah, for the most part, everything is in-house. Like, I don't let, you know, not having a big director behind me stop me from what I'm doing. I got bills to pay, so I'm always working. I use all of my resources. So the majority of the stuff that I put out, me and my homies and my wife have done it ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
But then that makes it, I don't know, sometimes you can feel that, like, there's a different vibe in the content when it's a good close group of friends versus something a little more glossy, maybe.
I mean, it depends. Like, I know how to make my stuff look professional. My stuff look mad professional.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's a different like tonality to it sometimes.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a different tone. It's original. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I would love to have $1 million budget. I would go crazy, like explosions and all of that. But I don't let that deter me from my goal, and, you know, that keeps me on my mission.
Right, exactly. And what is your mission?
My mission is to become a successful entrepreneur that I've been, you know, striving to be since I came in this game. Like, I just want to be successful. I want to be able to take care of my family without having to think about when the next check is coming. You know what I mean? Like, that's my goal. Like, to just live successfully off my music with what I've been doing. I mean, every day goals change, but right now in this moment, I just want to be successful off of what I love doing.
And does success and happiness mean the same thing to you, or would those be two different things?
I don't like to, like, blur the line between success and happiness, because a lot of people like to, like, okay, yeah, money don't bring happiness. Nah, money doesn't bring happiness, but it's a big fuel for it. That's for sure.
It's helpful. I mean?
Yeah. So when it comes to happiness and success, it's the same thing to me, because if my success is just being happy at home with my wife and just watching TV all day, then that's success to me. Success is, the definition of it is for whoever that individual is. So yeah.
And this is Shout Out with Sage. Are there any people you'd like to give a shout out to? Anyone pivotal, instrumental in your success so far, getting you to where you are right now?
Yeah, my wife. First and foremost, I just got married in February.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my wife, first and foremost, God, straight up. Yeah, my mom and my dad, period. That's it. That's who I want to give a shout out to, who's been the most supportive and behind me.
Cool. Yeah. And do you find that there's other people maybe that, like, what's your biggest struggle in the business? And
I would say my biggest struggle probably is just being in my own head. Like, I feel like I deserve more than I have, but I also understand that, you know, everything that I have, you know, God feel like I'm ready for it. So if I don't have it yet, then I'm just not ready for it. So, like, my biggest struggle is just being in my own head and feeling like I deserve more than what I have.
Well, yeah, you should always have gratitude. The first part of this of the show today was with a psychotherapist, and we talked about gratitude because it was about shout out with Sage, which is part of the show is to give gratitude and thanks. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, definitely. He was very. Some of the stuff he said was really cool and very something to think about when
Yeah.
you're, like I think for those of us who have a lot of goals, we forget to have gratitude sometimes because we want that other stuff so bad.
Yeah, it's like in your career, in your life, you always gonna want more. But sometimes I have to sit and think like, damn, I gotta appreciate what I got already. You know?
Well, and how far you've already come. Like if you look
Yeah.
back like 2 years ago, where was I? What was I doing? Oh my God. Like you forget to look back.
Yeah, because if you live it, like we all live in the moment, and then when we have it, it's not as fun when we have it. That's why the grind is so. That's why the grind is so fun to me, because the chase is way more interesting than like when you get there. Once you get there, it's like that's why like you compare. I like to compare it to a road trip. Like when everybody's ready for a road trip, it's like, oh damn, we're finna drive 4 hours. We're gonna be in a car. We're gonna be chilling, listening to music and vibing. But then when you finally get there, it's like, okay, damn, we're here, we're gonna party, then we gotta drive home, and it's like, oh damn, what's next? It's like, what's next? You know?
Right.
So,
well, especially now with everything so fast and like click, click, click. Yeah. Definitely. What is the best piece of advice you've been given?
The best piece of advice I've been given, as cliche as it may sound, is not caring what other people think. Like we live in an age where like you can see somebody's opinion in 2 seconds. Just pick up your phone, you can see somebody's opinion about you. Like 20, 30, 40 years ago, they didn't have that. Like,
right.
Could you imagine?
Find out a little later.
Yeah. Could you imagine if like James Brown was on Twitter? You feel me? It would just be like, and just in that era in the 70s, if like Twitter was like going on, Instagram, like where you could see people's opinions about you. Like I see people's opinion about me every single day. Like the biggest advice that I've ever gotten is not caring what anybody thinks. Just like you probably got that advice. That's like a very it's cliche advice, but it's like it's
mine's more when when people attack, they might not be attacking you, verbally saying stuff to you, like, or yelling at you, raising their voice or being snippy or snarky or any of those things is, really not to take it personal, even though you get angry that someone's talking to you that way, and you have to like breathe deeply and let it go.
And then like you always it's not always going to be a yes. Like sometimes, like the majority of this game in any industry, in film and music, whatever, it's gonna be a lot of no's. Like, no, we don't need you. We don't want you. It's cool. Like, no, you're not good enough. You got to fight through that. You feel me?
Right. Or it's just not their style. Like, that's the one thing I find. It's not that you might not be good enough. It just might not be
that what they're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't mean that you're bad. It doesn't mean that you're brilliant. It just means it's just not in their lane. That's the biggest thing I can say is like just to really know like what you are and what lane you're sort of going for, I think.
Yeah, nah, for sure. Yeah.
Because not everyone's gonna like you. So what happens? So what happens when you do find yourself maybe in a bit of a rut or a struggle? Like, do you have any positive things that you do to try and get over those humps, or how do you approach that?
I play video games. Like, I'm a big video game fan. Like, before I got on this interview, I was playing video games. I got my Xbox controller right here. Like, that's therapy. You know what I mean? I smoke weed. Like, that's the truth.
It's legal in California, so
where I'm from is very much legal. I kick it with my wife. I may go out to eat. Like, I find other avenues outside of music, outside of social media, like things that take me away from it for a little bit.
So you do have some away time from the social media and the music and that to.
For sure. Because like the music is 24/7 with me because it's how I eat. So other than that, or I may watch like my favorite shows on TV. You know.
Okay. And how do people find out about you? Like, where can we find you online, or what are your websites or anything like
Yeah.
that?
TrizOnline.com. You can find everything about me there. You can subscribe. You can get discounts and all types of gifts and everything on TrizOnline.com. You can find my Instagram. All my social media is on TrizOnline.com. It's one hub. You don't have to do anything.
Okay.
Keep searching for me. TrizOnline.com. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. All
Cool.
my shows and everything. I got shows coming up. It's all there.
Yeah. When's your next show?
August 12th in LA at Los Globos. I'm performing at TF's release party. TF is a artist from LA.
Okay, very cool. Anything else you would like to mention before we wrap it up for the day?
I just want to thank you, Sage, for having me on your
Oh,
show.
no worries.
I genuinely appreciate it. And yeah, I'd love to come back soon.
Definitely would love to have you. And why don't you give a shout out for your latest songs that you have out?
Yeah, okay. So I got this EP out right now called Summer Break. It's 3 songs. Real cool, chill vibe, summer under the palm trees type thing. Yeah, go check it out. It's out now on all platforms with my boy Mike Summers, and the full-length album is dropping in September.
Cool. Okay, well, thanks so much for coming today on Shout Out with Sage on Streaminn HUBB Radio, and hope to see you soon, Triz. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice to
Okay.
meet you.
Bye. Thanks, everyone, for being here. See you next time.